Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now, I'm back again with another T9 ship build, and this time it is the Tempest. Now, the Tempest is a beast, right? The one thing that it doesn't give you is an extension on the range for your cannons, but nonetheless, the Tempest is going to be an absolute beast. But be very careful when it comes to T9 battleships. T9 battleships can be very squirmish once you reach past missile ships. So the first two were missile class ships, so they were very safe in the fact that you could use railguns or turrets on something like the Scorpion, and you could use missiles on the Raven. Now the Tempest is a cannon ship, and cannons are heavy on power grid. So as such, just looking at everything here, you get plus 5% cannon damage and minus 4% activation time. That's 2 drones, 7 weapon slots, 4 mid slots, 6 low slots, and 3x3 in the rigs. Now let's get into this here. Obviously, I'm not really so worried about it. It's a Minmatar class ship, so it's a shield tank. And here we go with the big problem, the power grid output. Now at 9,733 megawatts, it is considerably large. But remember, you have 7 weapons on the ship, and large weapons can be a bit heavy on power grid. So for the ship, you're going to need research to get it big enough to run anything in terms of your heavy class vessel. So let's get into what you're going to need for the ship. So I'm just going over it basic from that point. So let's go to weapons. So let's get to the large cannons. Now I'm going with autocannons first because autocannons are the stable build. This is my suggested build for the ship. So the Tempest shouldn't be played long range. Long range, you're going to suffer like crazy. You're going to have to make it glass cannon if you're going long range, and you're going to have to risk going into major damage figures. So let's go with it, right? As you can see, it has 853 megawatts. Now I'm going to take out the 3 from this. I'm going to count it as 9,700, right? So obviously you know that I knocked off that 33. So honestly, it's still not going to make that much of a difference for what I'm about to do here because it's not going to impact it. But let's go for it. 8 times 7 is 56. So 5,600 megawatt power grid, and 5 times 7 is 3.5. So 5.95. 5,950 megawatts gone just to the weapons, and that is just with the close range low power weapons. So if you knock that off your grid, you're going 9,000 minus 6,000, you have 3,700 left. Yes, I've added extra into the fall off for small figures. So 9,700, not that bad, but it is that bad because 3,700 isn't a lot of grid for the ship. Remember, you're using large gear on it. Something like a micro warp drive knocks out almost half, and you'll see why it makes a big difference as I go to the next weapon. So let's drop down. Okay, now strike cannons are generally what most people like using in cannons as far as I know, and here comes the big kicker. 1,390. I'm just going to make it 1,400 for easy maths to be done. 7 times 1 is 7,000, right? 400 times 7 is 2,400. 9,400 is the rough estimate for what the ship is going to knock off. Yes, it isn't 9,400 exactly, it's more like 9,350. That will be closer to the real figure. It's just a little bit more that I'm omitting, but that's exactly what the ship has. A 9,300 knockoff. That's not enough power for a large shield booster. It's not enough power for a large anything really. It's only one item and the ship is going to be knocked off if you went for large. And obviously, if you're counting on your research, that's a 25% growth to the ship. That's 2,500. And at that point, you can make a stable build with the remainder of the ship, 2,900 to the build. So it isn't 100% good idea to go that route, and I'm going to explain as much as possible why I'm not going to go with strike cannon route. Now obviously I did say there's quite a bit of extra when it comes to doing some research to the ship. And if you have gotten as far as expert engineering, you can obviously play the long range with your Tempest. But if you don't have expert, don't do it. It's going to cost you in rigs, and you don't want to go and supplement your power grid on the ship when you can supplement your ability to move further back and keep combat at distance if you were going with the long range fight. So wait until you have expert. 35% extra is going to help you quite a bit. You almost at a full 3000 added to your ship's power grid. That's definitely going to help you massively when it comes to your fighting. So that is my advice to you if you are going for this. Plus you also get your reductions from your learning of your skills for each one of the weapons and your shields and so forth. So as you know, you have 4 mid slots. You have 2 drones. Now, considering that I said this is going to be good for brawling, you're going to want a nice fast drone. So if you are going to go with my suggestion, you're going to go medium, right? I know you have the option to go large, and large is 21 DPS extra, and it's a massive difference. But go medium, and you're going to go Valkyrie to assist the ship, because there is still a point where you get ships going under your guns. There's a point where you can't shoot them anymore if they're too close to you. So use the Valkyries to get any ship that comes too close. It's going to hit just about everything. It's the fastest drone in the game. Obviously it's going to be less effective against their armor and their hull, but nonetheless it will get through them very quickly. Actually, it will only be weak against the armor. Now if you are going to go with large drones and you're going to use them for their advantage in combat, here's the catches. They slow, right? If you deploy Berserker large, one moment, if I'm correct, it is called a Berserker. Yeah, if you go for the Berserker in the large drones, you're going to get that speed that you want, because if I'm correct, this is the fastest. No, they're about the same speed, 1800 meters per second. It's going to help you a little bit in the combat. It can take on something that comes close, but here's all the negatives. There's fall off, there's resistance. All of these things are going to make a massive impact. If you decide to play the Brawler with one of these large drones, remember you have to make sure that they don't catch you with webs and warp disruptors, because once they catch you in a warp disruptor, it's over. You're not going to be able to fight like you want to. Okay, in terms of your other mid slots for the ship, since you are playing in the close range, you're going to electronic warfare to start with. But please be careful, right? This is me going with the close range Brawler. As I said, there's 3,500 grid for me to mess with, right? There's 3,700 actually for me to mess with. Let's just leave it at that. So first thing I'm going to do is put on not a micro warp drive, a Webifier, right? One Webifier, one weapon disruptor. Now obviously if you're fighting rats, it's easy. And if you're fighting against enemies, generally just one tracking disruptor knocks out everything. Guidance disruptors are only for missiles. Now these are just basic fits, and the next two on the ship are going to be double Norse Ferratu. Now yes, I know this just sounds crazy, but this isn't just going to be any Norse Ferratu, it's going to be large. Now why would I go with large Norse Ferratu? As you know, they're quite heavy on your power grid. Well, precisely because they're quite heavy on your power grid, and you have another 2,500 that can support you on the close range fight. So we're taking these two into that additional 25% that comes into a level 5 battle cruiser engineering, right? So 25% there, that's 2,500. You're just minusing 1,600. You still have an additional 4 plus 5. Yeah, 900 is left. You have 900 megawatts, which is extra, which is reserved in case anything goes wrong with your low slots. And you'll see exactly what I mean by the remainder going into different aspects. Now, shield boosters are exactly 500 megawatts for the large. Obviously, these are big ships. You want to use large. They're going to take massive hits every single time. There's no avoiding most of it. So 500 megawatts, we now have our shield booster. Fantastic, nice, large impact. Everything is going to look better. Now, I did say that you could put a micro warp drive on it, but because you're taking it close range for brawlers, and as I said, you don't want to get disrupted, I obviously knew you're going to get hit with scrams at some point or the other, so a micro warp drive isn't going to be an option, so don't worry about it. 500 megawatts. Add it to what we already have of 16,000, that takes you up to 2,100 megawatts. Next thing, we're going to throw on a shield extender. Large as well, best that we can find, and there we go. 680, 700. That's 2,800 megawatts in the lower part of the ship. 2,800 megawatts, right? You've got that. I have 900 left if I was going with the standard grid on the ship. I have 2,500 from the boost. Now, obviously, I did say that I was putting the Nosferatu in the boost, but I'm just throwing it in here because I remembered that there's two different builds to go through at this point. Shield hardener is 1 megawatt, not counting it in. You're not going to go reactive, you're going to go adaptive. Now, there you go, C-type adaptive, you've got the maximum power. Armor wraps, not really important, but the ship could go armor wrap. That puts you up 3 slots. Now, there's a reason why I always go with shield extender and shield booster. Shield extender gives you this reprieve from taking damage. It also allows you to recover a larger chunk each time, and it gives you that leeway to take 2 or 3 hits before you open up again for another assault. Okay, so there we go, and let's go to the afterburner on the ship. Now, there is a reason why I'm going for a large afterburner over anything else, and it's simple. The afterburner isn't affected by warp scramblers. So you're going to be able to move at this massive speed right up front. If they web you, you just get away from the web distance and you finish them off with your drones or your cannons. 878 megawatts. This literally puts you at the edge of the limit to what your ship has, right? Putting this on makes it the 4th component and gives you a 0 power grid, right? There you go, 0 power grid. If you didn't have any engineering, you are now finished, and you have 2 slots left on your ship. You're playing in the close range, you're fighting hard. There are 2 different options for these brawler fits. You can double up your shield booster with a double adaptive hardeners, that's going to give you this massive tank with this massive recovery. It's going to help you big time when it comes to a fight, because you're going to be able to sustain a longer combat without having it fall into your armor that quickly. So it is going to sustain you for quite some time. But obviously, if anybody tries to drain you or anything of that sort, it does make a difference. And then you also have 2 large Nosferatu, so you're going to be knocking energy out of the enemy at phenomenal rates. That's going to push you right through the roof again. So there's the whole sustaining that double Nosferatu. So that's if you want to go with the standard brawler fit on that ship. Now, there is a standard brawler fit. There is a second option, and the second option in this is to go down to your weapon upgrades and put on gyro stabilizers, and not just 1 but 2. Now, this is going to give you a much harder hit, and it is as important as becoming super tanky with that other build. So if you do the double shield wrap, double hardener, you're not going to put in double gyro stabilizers. If you go double gyro stabilizer, you have this massive boost in terms of firepower, and it's really 40 seconds of firepower at a time, unlike every other weapon where you're getting 20 seconds. You're going to be hitting them for that nice large damage for those short periods of time, and it's going to be through the roof because both of them have a passive amplification to your damage. So regardless, if you do activate both at the exact same time, you're going to output this huge damage, and it's going to push you through to the victory. These are both options for these large for these large battleships, because you literally can cruise into the fight. Okay, moving on. If we went with the long range fit, so we're scrapping everything from the lower end. We had 9,200 to start with. We have 2,500 reserve capacitor. Okay, in terms of mid slot, drones aren't really important. You just throw 2 large drones in case anything gets close. In terms of your mid slots, disruptors not disruptors, sorry, warp, no, not warp scramblers, sorry, weapon disruptors and target painters. That's all that you can put in. Double target painter, double disruptor. End of story, that's it. You can't use a Nosferatu, you've got this massive distance between you. You're so far away they can't really get hit by your Nos. So it's a waste of time. You've got so much of distance between you and your enemy that it isn't going to help you in any way in battle, so you're not going to the Nosferatu. So let's go straight up to your first slot choice, your micro warp drive. Right? Sorry, this is the wrong one. You're going C-type large micro warp drive, that's 1500 megawatts. And bang, you're left with just under 1200 megawatts left for everything else to fit on. 1200 megawatts isn't that huge, but remember, we got our shield booster and our shield hardeners. You don't have to go with the shield extender on this version. So you can go one shield booster, one shield hardener. That knocks out 4 slots from the entire ship. Right, we already know what the figures are in terms of power. You need 2 more slots. You're not going to go double gyro, obviously. You're going to go 1 gyro, 1 tracking computer. And you're going to be scrammed so close for power on that ship that there isn't any room to make a mistake. If I am even slightly incorrect on any of my calculations, you lose. That's how bad it is. You're right at the edge. Now, with everything being said, here are some of the big warnings. Even though you do have some excess grid that I haven't counted on the ship, with you sitting this close to the edge, you might be thinking it might be good to have a cap battery because you're using the micro warp drive. You might be thinking that the micro warp drive is going to need you to have a little bit of extra added, and you're correct. So for rigging out the ship, it's going to count so heavy for you to have that extra amount of capacitor. It's going to be as crucial as getting more speed, and you're going to need even more speed to get away from combat. So here's the Brawler rigs. Shield booster plus 30%, shield field strength plus 20%, if I'm correct. That's the shield field extender. With that put onto your ship, you now are more effective in close range combat. So your ship is really going to be able to heal quickly, and it has a larger shield recovery for a much tougher shield. The next thing on that slot, you're going to increase your weapon damage. Now, it isn't going to be like the regular where you improve your capacitor reduction. Sorry, where you go for capacitor reduction for your third slot. You're going for more weapon damage because you are going to be taking an optimal range fire, and it's going to be better for you to have that little bit of extra firepower. Yes, you're going up from 131 by 200%. That's taking you to about 450 meters per second. The moment they web you, you're back at 200. So you really don't have that much to play with. Once you add in your research, you can get a little bit faster, but it's not that much. Okay, so there I go on telling you exactly what you need for the weapon slot for the Brawler. In terms of the engineering rigs, it's going to be auxiliary thruster for speed. You need it so that you can maneuver. That way you can stay at that 450 like I was saying. You're going to need a semiconductor control, and the last can either be a capacitor control or a second semiconductor control. Now normally I have been doing this double semiconductor control because it doesn't look like there's any negative impacts coming in any further. They're working the way they were meant to work, and this is going to give you that nice boost to your capacitor. With your capacitor strengthened to these extents and it taking you 1.5 minutes to go down in shield, you have a nice solid, no, not 1.5, 800 seconds. That's almost 15 seconds to recharge your full cap. So yeah, 15 minutes, sorry, to recharge your full cap. So it's quite a big amount of time. You have a lot of firepower, you have a lot of cap, and you're going to stay as stable as possible with the big ship with that type of research being thrown in. The next thing for you to think about when it comes to working on your ship for the range fit is going to be extension of distance for fall off, accuracy fall off, all three. That's all that goes into them when you're making them snipers. In terms of your engineering, auxiliary thruster, double semiconductor control, there is no option. Your cap is going to be very fragile. You're going to be losing cap like crazy. You might even lose cap while in battle. That's how bad it might be for your Tempest if you do go with the long range foot. So I hope that you all do enjoy. And just on a little bit of a personal note, my channel really needs to reach 1,000 subs, so please put it out there. Share my video around, get it out to some of your friends, get it to another group of guys. I'm looking to collaborate with other content creators. It's literally the period in the game where content creators need to be getting together, because the content is now officially all dead. Once you do this T9 builds, I have another 3 more T9 builds that are efficient, worthy enough for counting as content. Once they are done, nothing really counts. PvP is in a state of flux. There's modules you can use, modules you can't use. There's modules you can use in an unusual format. All of these don't really make that much of a difference to the standard for fighting. So if I do make a PvP set, I'm going to have to take it out in PvP. And I can't test it on a content creator server. I have to take it out in the real server. And as I said, yesterday when I did plan a fleet, it got cancelled. Today I was planning to go and roam around and have some fun trying to blow something up. Cancelled again. I'm in a corp that's doing the same CTA thing that a lot of other corps do, and there's no content, right? I know that isn't really your problem as the community, but that's the way that it's going. So I'm really at that real small section. There's not much I can do. I need to reach 1,000 subs so that I can actually get some improvements in for my channel. I need a little income from the channel to boost me up just a little bit so I can put something in for better internet service, so I can stream. I can put in a few nice hours of live streams on ratting, things like that there. Give people a chance to join me out in high sec, have some fun. I need to get all of that in order. And I know that I've let a lot of you down, right? I can't say exactly how I let you down, but I did let you guys down. And I'm really, really sorry. I joined Pandemic purely for the reason of collaboration and being a content creator with other content creators. It was all about having fun with content.